Hello peeps, this is yours truly, the Little Colonel. Welcome to my YouTube channel, dedicated to exploring and learning about a variety of different topics that we may be curious about. So let's get into it. This video, I talk about one of my favorite heroes, George Washington. We all know George Washington as the first president of the United States. But in this video today, I want to tell you about things you may not have heard about him so far and what we can learn from him. Washington's ancestral family was originally from Salgrave, England. Washington's great-grandfather, John Washington, was the first in the family to immigrate in 1656 to the English colony of Virginia. George Washington was born on 22nd February 1732 in Virginia. His mother's name was Mary Ball and father was Augustine Washington. He had 6 siblings, as you can see here. George Washington never went to a proper school, but he took interest to learn mathematics, reading, writing, and land surveying. He became a very talented draftsman and mapmaker. Washington's dad died when he was just 11 years old. When he was young, he looked up to his older half-brother Lawrence Washington, who was serving in the British Army. But unfortunately, in 1752, while on a trip to Barbados in the Caribbean islands, Lawrence contracted smallpox and died. In his honor, George joined the Virginia British Army as well. During his 20s, George Washington fought as a soldier in the French and Indian Wars. Great Britain's fight with France was over the Ohio River Valley territory. After gaining the experience of fighting a war, Washington returned to Virginia to work as a farmer. He became popular among the Virginians, and they elected Washington to their colonial government when he was just 26. Soon after, he married Martha Dandridge Custis, a wealthy widow with 2 young children from her prior marriage. They settled at Mount Vernon, their family home. I visited the amazing Mount Vernon estate of George Washington. As government official now, Washington challenged the unfair laws imposed by the British, such as high taxes. In 1776, after Thomas Jefferson and other leaders wrote the Declaration of Independence, an army was formed to represent the 13 American colonies to oppose the British, and George Washington was selected to lead it. For 5 years, Washington served as the head of the army as the Revolutionary War against the British. The British finally surrendered in 1781 at Yorktown, Virginia. Washington was now a hero, seen as an important person who helped the colonies finally gain independence from Great Britain. After the war, Washington retired from the army and returned back to his private family life. After the war, the former colonies operated mostly independently as states. There was no national leader. Not good for a new nation now, is it? So, in 1787, state representatives gathered in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania at the Constitutional Convention. There, the delegates wrote the Constitution of the United States. This document created a strong federal government. Based on the Constitution, the state representatives then voted to elect a president. Washington won the vote, making him the first ever president. of the United States. John Adams received the second most votes and became vice president. George Washington took an oath of presidency in the New York City, which was a temporary capital of the nation at that time. Because Washington, D.C., the city in his name wasn't even built until then. Can you imagine being the very first one at a job? There is no one to train you. You have no example to follow. But Washington was such a good leader. He created an example and a tradition for all the presidents to follow. For example, he decided how to deal with other countries, how to select cabinet members, appoint judges, and regularly give a State of the Union speech. After serving 2 back-to-back terms as president, Washington retired to Mount Vernon in 1797. He died 2 years later, on December 14, 1799. Hope you guys enjoyed getting to know George Washington, our first president. Here are some fun facts about George Washington. Please leave your comments in this video and tell me why you like George Washington. Oh, and there's one last thing. If you liked this video, please hit the subscribe button and give me a like as well. Thank you so much, and until the next one, bye-bye, ta-ta, adios, ciao, sayonara.